Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Bring your inner John Wick to life with these 10 action-packed games. If you're looking for a way to channel your inner Hitman and get your revenge, then you've come to the right place. Here's a list of 10 games to play if you like John Wick. Dishonored 2 is a 2016 action-adventure game developed by Arcane Studios and published by Bethesda Softworks. It is the sequel to 2012's Dishonored and was released on PlayStation 4, PC, and Xbox One. The game is played from a first-person perspective and has stealth elements. The player can choose to play as either Empress Emily Kaldwin or Corvo Attano. The game has a walkthrough available on IGN and has received positive reviews from critics.
You never thought I would fight back. You never saw me as a threat.
Severed Steel is a first-person shooter game that features stylish gunplay and acrobatic movement. It has been compared to John Wick due to its focus on fluid stunts, bullet time, and fast-paced action. The game has a unique one-armed protagonist and destructible voxel environments. It is available on Steam and has received positive reviews from critics. Hitman 3 is a stealth game played from a third-person perspective where players control Assassin Agent 47. The game features various locations where the player carries out contracted assassinations. Hitman 3 has been praised for its excellent level design and is part of the World of Assassination trilogy. The game has received positive reviews from critics. While it has elements of John Wick's action, it is primarily a stealth game and may not be as fast-paced as John Wick. Sifu is a third-person action game that features intense hand-to-hand combat and is inspired by classic kung fu films. The game follows a young kung fu student on his path of revenge throughout the city. The game has been praised for its realistic and raw combat and its unique take on the kung fu genre. While it has elements of John Wick's martial arts action, it is primarily a brawler game and may not have the same level of gunplay as John Wick. The game is available on Steam and has received positive reviews from critics.
Party is over.
This is not like the last time. I have power.
There is no video game called Wanted Dead that is directly related to John Wick. However, Dishonored 2 is an action-adventure game that has been compared to John Wick due to its focus on stealth and magical assassins. The game features a variety of missions with different objectives and collectibles. Severed Steel is a first-person shooter game that features a fluid stunt system and dynamic AI. While both games have elements of John Wick's action, they are not directly related to the franchise.
Start acting like one.
Light him up.
They might look human, they might act human, they're not.
You don't have to do this.
Do I need to explain how you get paid at the end of each month?
Playing tough with me, girl? I've seen tough.
Doom is a first-person shooter game that was released in 1993 and developed by ID Software for MS-DOS. The game features a space marine, known as Doom Guy, fighting through hordes of invading demons from hell. Doom has been praised for its early 3D graphics and is considered one of the greatest games of all time. While Doom has elements of John Wick's action, it is primarily a first-person shooter game and may not have the same level of hand-to-hand combat as John Wick. Severed Steel has been compared to John Wick due to its focus on stylish gunplay and acrobatic movement.
In Cyberpunk 2077, you steal a prototype biochip that can set you up for life.
There are no official tie-ins between Cyberpunk 2077 and John Wick. However, some players have created John Wick-inspired builds in the game. Severed Steel has been compared to John Wick due to its focus on stylish gunplay and acrobatic movement in a cyberpunk universe. There were plans for Cyberpunk 2077 to have a third-person mode like The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, but the game is primarily played in first person. While there are no direct connections between Cyberpunk 2077 and John Wick, both share a cyberpunk aesthetic and a focus on action and violence.
Told you I'd end you someday.
The Hong Kong Massacre is a top-down shooter game that is set in 1990s Hong Kong and follows a former police detective on a mission of revenge against the Triad for the death of his partner. The game is inspired by classic action movies such as those of John Woo, as well as other video games like Hotline Miami and Max Payne. The game features slow motion and shoot dodges that make the player character briefly invulnerable to enemy fire. While the game has elements of John Wick's action, it is primarily a top-down shooter and may not have the same level of hand-to-hand combat as John Wick. The game is available on Steam and has received positive reviews from critics. Hotline Miami 2, Wrong Number, is a top-down shooter game that features fast-paced, brutal action and a retro art style. The game takes place before, during, and after the events of its predecessor, Hotline Miami, and focuses on the backstory and aftermath of the previous protagonist, Jacket. The game has been praised for its heart-pounding techno soundtrack and its challenging top-down action. While the game has elements of John Wick's action, it is primarily a top-down shooter and may not have the same level of hand-to-hand combat as John Wick. The game is available on Steam and has received positive reviews from critics. John Wick Hex is a tactical role-playing game that was released in 2019 and is based on the John Wick franchise. The game features a timeline strategy where the player maneuvers John Wick through a level on a hex-based grid, using various moves and actions to defeat enemies and avoid being hit by his foes. The game has been praised for its unique gameplay mechanics and its ability to capture the feel of the John Wick films. While the game has elements of John Wick's action, it is primarily a strategy game and may not have the same level of fast-paced action as the films.
When things go your way, watch the action unfold as you set out to dismantle Hex's network of underbosses. And when everything else fails, by thinking strategically, players will go through multiple complex combat scenarios and track down Hex in an all-new chapter in the Wick saga.